Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. Finally, if you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide, available on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Most homeowners don't have the time or expertise to properly take care of their home, which causes costly issues to arise. That's where Kira Home Maintenance comes in. We're a full-service, routine maintenance company that was developed by a certified home inspector. Each quarter, we service our clients' homes following manufacturer's recommendations to properly maintain all the necessary appliances. We provide the materials and expertise to prolong the life of your property, creating a healthy and efficient environment for your family. From top to bottom, we'll maintain and service your home. To get started, we have a property inspection to determine what needs to be maintained, and a maintenance plan is created based on your preferences. From refrigerator coils to filters, vents, and drains, we do it all, and we do it well. Contact us today for your free routine maintenance inspection, and never worry about your maintenance again.
Jeffrey Klubeck on the Riderflex podcast. Hello, Jeffrey. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. How you doing, Steve?
Love the look. I like that look, man. Really, you're looking
Well,
casual. You're looking good.
Well, even though we're into January, it's still kind of winter break for me. The kids are not back in school yet. There's a lot of movement around the house, home office today. So, and I know that you do such a great podcast. You like to keep it casual. So I thought I wouldn't wear a suit and tie so that I could look good, feel good, and stay casual through the conversation with you.
Now you got shorts and flip flops, or what do you got under there?
Yeah, I don't know. Does the Birkenstocks count as flip flops? And it's not shorts. It's a little too chilly. Even in San Diego, it's still a little too chilly for shorts. But we're on our way to shorts and sandals in no time.
You know, when I have to put on pants now, like jeans, I told my wife the other day. I said we were at Christmas and the holidays or whatever, and I told her, I was like, I'm retired from jeans. Just so you know, I'm retired from jeans. Do not buy me any more jeans. Like, I want stretchy pants. I want pants that have a little flex in them. This whole thing with jeans, like, I'm done. I'm 57 years old. I don't wear jeans anymore. Don't buy me any more jeans.
It's so when I feel the same way about my wardrobe, I go for the efficiency angle. It's like, look, I don't want zippers and buttons and anything that's going to slow me down. Right. Let's go efficient. And by the back door to the flex and the comfort and all of that. But I package it with efficiency as the Trojan horse to get the real message through, which is it's time to lose some of that holiday weight.
Now you're in San Diego, so that's where you live now?
Yeah, San Diego. I've been here since 1990. I graduated high school, San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, moved down to San Diego right after high school. Been here ever since. Met my wife here, raising my kids here. Love San Diego, and San Diego loves you too. It's mutual.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got the best weather in the continental U.S., basically.
Yeah, no arguments. And I get careful talking about weather because I know how good we have it, and I don't want to draw any unnecessary attention to myself. Like, we've got it really good, and I just keep it at that. But we pay for it. Dude,
in the real estate market. Yeah. Do you know how many friends that I have over the last 3 or 4 years that have moved away from California because of the whole tax situation and a bunch of other? I'm not going to start dogging on California, but I mean, dude, I've had a lot of people like, what the fuck? What are we doing here? Yeah.
I just chalk it up to men that were smarter than me. I think it was Einstein that had the theory of relativity. And I just think that in non-scientific terms, it's got to be relative. I could be in Florida, but then I'd be dealing with hurricanes. And what's the cost of that? And dealing with getting your house rebuilt and dealing with insurance. Or I could be in Texas and Oklahoma and deal with tornadoes, or I could be in the Seattle and deal with rain all the time and depression. And so I think there's a relativity of it all. And you can look at what you want, or you look at what you don't want.
It's true. There's good and bad about every single place in the U.S., really.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've lived around, so there's pluses and minuses. Your folks still there?
Let's wait, hang on. Let's both agree that LA is a nice place to be from. Let's both agree that we're not going to LA. Okay.
Yeah, totally. Are you folks still in California? Where are they from?
No, my folks, they moved to Las Vegas in 2010. They passed in 2020, September of 2020, 3 weeks apart,
Ooh,
which, yeah, it was a little traumatic while I was going through it, but it was a bit of a blessing too. I mean, I like to deal with, coping with humor. And so I got a little BOGO, bury one, get one, when they passed 3 weeks apart, got to
damn,
kind
bro.
of handle it. Thank you for laughing, but it's coping, right? And it
What
was Steve.
happened? You mind me
No,
asking
no,
what happened?
dude, it was they loved each other so much, and they both started to fail, and they couldn't imagine a life without the one, other. So one passed, and the other one went closely thereafter. It was just lifestyle. They died of
Wow,
different things. Neither of them were COVID, but it happened during COVID, so pre-vax
interesting.
COVID. Yeah, I left San Diego and I
Uh,
drove, and I took care of it. I had to take care of it. It was a trauma when I went through it.
how old were they?
Young. They were, I think, 73 and 76 respectively.
Okay,
So,
I was gonna say because you look young still. Well, how old are you? 40s,
yeah,
early 40s?
no, thank you, man. Thank you. I'm going to be 52 in April of this year. We're in
Uh,
2024. Yeah,
oh,
I'm going to be 52.
you got the energy of a young 43-year-old at least. Come on.
Well, I got a lot to be excited about, so I appreciate that. I take observations of my energy as a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you have siblings?
Yeah, one older brother. He is in Vegas right now. Good dude, very good dude with a good heart.
Okay. All right. Are you the oldest? Or you said younger? What'd you say?
No, like we used to joke, I was the younger older brother, like he's older than me, but I always played the role. And,
He was
I
the
was,
rebel.
I've
He got in,
been,
he's the one that got in trouble all the time, or what?
I don't know, we've both gotten in our share we've both gotten in our share of trouble over the years. So, there's just, I don't know, like, it's funny. We joked around about it when we were younger, but it came true. My brother, yeah, I admire him because he was living with my parents for the last couple years. But when it came time to handle um, what to do with the house or doctors
Yeah.
and things of that nature, I had to go in and handle those things. So we ended up making a pretty good team and finding some way to let my parents pass with some dignity, and we were both moving on.
Did you ever get arrested, Jeff, when you were in high school or college?
No, wait, let me think. High school or college?
Well, okay. Let's rephrase. Have you
Yeah,
ever been
ever,
arrested?
ever, ever?
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
All
I
right. Tell
have
us
to.
about it. Let's confess right now. Tell everybody.
Yeah, it was at a Lakers game, and
You punched somebody.
I did.
Are you
I
serious?
did. It was in self-defense, and as soon as I defended myself with that swing, I went directly to a police officer and said, "Hey, officer, this man needs some attention." I was defending myself, and
You're under arrest. Oh
yeah.
man. Did you have to
So,
spend the night?
no, not the night. It was just a couple of hours, LA County, and while living in San Diego, so my buddy, thank God for John Blyer, my
Were you
good
married at the
friend.
time? Were you married?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I remember seeing teeth marks in the wedding ring. Or yeah, yeah, that was actually hard. I didn't mind anything, and then when I got there and I had to take off my ring, I'm like, I have to take off my ring for this. So I don't want to take off my ring for anything. And that was kind of sobering, but
Now, what's that like?
yeah.
How old were you?
It's
Late,
maybe
late.
29, maybe
Yeah,
28, 29, maybe.
you call your wife and you're like, honey,
Uh,
was she there? Was she at the
no,
game?
no.
You call her and you're like,
Yeah.
can you come down here? She's like, what the hell?
No, 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 no. I got lucky. My friend who was at the game with me, he called her. He stayed around. He got me out. Like I was just there for a couple hours before I didn't know what was going to happen. Right, once you're on the other
But
side, they don't tell you much.
okay, but overall, I mean, you got into school, you got your master's, you
Yeah,
were a decent young man with a good head on his shoulders for the most part.
yeah. Comparatively speaking, for the most part, I mean, anybody that's ambitious, anybody that wants success, um, can spend a lot of time beating themselves up over their mistakes or their
No
shortcomings or
doubt.
how they want to be better. And so I don't think I'm any different there. But yeah, I got to agree with you. If we're gonna be honest about everything, yeah, I was arrested, and yeah, I'm a good kid, really good head on my shoulders. It's done some good stuff. If we're being honest about everything, yeah, I'm a pretty good dude.
So what was the plan when you went to school? Communications, human resources? What were you thinking?
When I went in, I wanted to get into telecommunications. I wanted to be like a sportscaster. When I grew up, like the greatest thing in the world was Sports
Oh,
Center. Oh my
I
God,
see.
cable
Okay.
cable TV and MTV and ESPN.
And
That
did you play
that's
sports? Were you a jock in school?
I was until I got hurt, and then I
Okay.
went into
All right.
the sports journalism. Like so,
Okay.
in high school, I got bursitis in between freshman and sophomore year. I made JV as a freshman in basketball and was going to play 2.5 years of varsity, but I got bursitis and couldn't run for like 6 months, and it was a rehab. And I thought,
I
well,
got
my chances of going to play in college are pretty much, yeah, I'm going to go over to journalism here. And I went into journalism and sports
you. I see.
broadcasting.
But you loved it. You loved sports in
Oh,
general,
I'm
though.
a big sports fan, big. And I used to be bigger. Now that I'm an adult and I've got other responsibilities, and I don't pay as much attention to certain sports as I used to. I used to read the sports page every day, memorize the box scores, all that stuff.
Really?
No, not the numbers part, but I just, I knew who every player was and on. Watched up and down college,
So
and
that's what you were going to do. You were going to
I thought, hey, I'm
be
going to be the
Bob Costa.
next.
You were going to be Bob Costas.
Yeah, I was going to be, or Al Michaels, or
Yeah.
so many of the Chick Hearn I looked up to, like Chick Hearn, but it was like these people on Sports Center. You thought, oh, an anchor on Sports Center, what a cool thing. Chris Berman and those
Yeah.
guys early on, Dan Patrick, and so
Hmm.
that that was really cool. When I got into school, started getting educated, started learning new stuff about stuff I didn't know about growing up. Growing up in LA, everything's plastic and material and Hollywood and fake and phony, and you know what I mean. So your mind starts to expand a little bit. I got a minor in sociology. I started getting really interested in sociology and the way systems work. And by the time I got done with my bachelor's, I went into the management side rather than the production side.
Okay.
Because like you can take that, you go into video production and go work in industry holding cameras or doing grip or getting on sets and going that route, or you can go telecommunications management where you can
Okay.
learn why is Viacom selling their library or Paramount selling their library of movies to Viacom? How are the cable companies interacting with the satellite companies? What is the
All right.
regulation of all of this? What does deregulation mean? And what are cable companies going to do when things are streaming? And how does the internet impact all of this? And I started studying all of that, right?
Okay. Okay.
Because what does Winston Churchill say? Like, if you're not a liberal by the time you're 18, you have no heart. But if you're not a capitalist by the time you're 30, you have no brain. And, so in terms of
True.
like, where's the money? Where's the money? Where would be, the highest paying career? It was on the management side instead of the production side. And that might have been a limiting belief too. I could have been, you can probably make a lot of money anywhere as long as you
Yeah.
decide to get really, really good and pay the prices you got to pay. But yeah, telecommunications management was the bachelor's with a minor in sociology. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? Or I was afraid or I was scared. So I stayed and got a master's at San Diego State. So my
Yeah.
department, telecommunications and film, was going to merge with the journalism and the speech comm department to become like a nationally recognized school of communication. I thought,
Cool.
hey, that's cool. I'll stay. I know 1/3 of the faculty already, so let's see what happens with the masters. And that's where I got teaching experience, and that's where
Yeah.
um, I got some great mentoring from some incredible professors. And
Now, right there, let's take a pause.
yeah,
That early teaching
mhm.
stuff, that was a lot of the seed planting for I want to mentor, coach,
Yeah,
train,
oh yeah,
teach, speak,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it even goes, you want to go deeper and more like conversational and personal than that. I love my parents, but we didn't have a lot, so
Okay.
I had a job on campus my very freshman year. I had a job on campus. I had a job on the phones at night, telemarketing, and I would go home every other weekend to deliver pizzas and do laundry, right? So I had 3 jobs in 2 cities and 12 units as a freshman.
Yeah.
But
Right.
anyway, my third semester, my mom says, hey, Jeff, we don't have money for tuition. You're on your own. So I'm 19 years old. I'm in my third semester of school, and I don't know how I'm going to pay tuition. I was in an apartment for the first time, and I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet. And I went to my
Wow.
bosses on
Yeah.
campus, and I told them, I'm like, hey, you got to look for a replacement because I think I'm going to go home, live with mom and dad, and sling pizzas because nobody's got money for tuition. And the very next day, my boss took me to lunch with his boss, and they sat me down and they said, hey, we don't want to lose you, first of all. Second of all, if you drop out, it's hard to get back in. So we found out you can work for us, the same number of hours if you're a part-time student. If we lent you money to stay in as a part-time student, would you commit to working full 20 hours a week, pay us back $100 a month out of your monthly paychecks, and stay in school, please? And I was like, whoa, right? So
Cool.
that was like one of the, it's hard to talk about without getting emotional, because I had to go home, call mom, say, hey, mom, these guys want to lend me money to stay in school. And she was so hurt because she couldn't do it. And I said, hey, don't trip out on that. What you need to do is be proud of, you raised a good kid that somebody wants to invest in.
Yes.
And that's what you need to focus on. Somebody wants to invest in me. You did that, right? So do I have your blessing? Can I stay in school and take this loan and pay these guys back and learn how?
Nice.
That's, when you talk about the seed planting, the origins of helping young people, the origins of being a stand for somebody's success. There's been so many times in my life, Steve, where somebody has seen something in me that's greater than I was able to see in myself. And then they communicate a belief in me, willing to invest in me, or a belief in me, or something like that. And it's just a magical moment where you get to prove them right or prove them wrong.
That's great, man. That's really awesome. If you have people that, so often most of us can look back and pinpoint 2, 3, 4 people in our lives that gave us that opportunity, right? They opened the door, they helped us up, they brushed us off. And thank God for people like that, right? Because I know I have several of those in my life too. That's cool. I appreciate you sharing that story with me. How did walk us into well, before we get into the coaching and the speaking and the books, before that, personally now, married, kids, single, what's going on?
No. Married, Marianne, met her at San Diego State University. And we, first time I kissed Marianne was November 19th, 1991. So we got married, over a decade later, 4 days after 9/11, we got married. And so we've been, married we're in our third decade, fourth decade of knowing each other. It's been Marianne the entire time. So that comes with some amazing things. There's some challenges there when you start so young and you got to grow together and become adults together. And you raise, we've got 3 amazing kids, 2 dogs. Our oldest is a Division I athlete at our alma mater, San Diego State, on the baseball team for now, as long as he stays competitive, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great joy for us that our son is at our alma mater on baseball scholarship. My daughter, 16, she's a junior. She's the most dynamic person I know. Journalist in field hockey. She's got a job, driver's license, a great boyfriend that she's super excited about, that I respect a lot. And she's signed to do acting and modeling, and she's still taking her AP classes, even though she tested out of high school already. She's still taking her AP classes, and like, there's nothing she doesn't do. Like, it's like, just get out of her way. She's amazing. And then our sweet son, Brody, he's 11 years old. He's still innocent, but getting street smarter every day. But if I need somebody to play chess with, if I need somebody to, ask the great mysterious questions of the universe with, he's still curious and analytical, and he's sweet and fun. And so it's a lot of fun underneath our house, a lot of moving parts.
And what's your wife do?
Oh, she's corporate. So, I'm more entrepreneurial, professorial, and she's corporate.
Okay. That's good to have. Sometimes that's a good balance, right?
Yeah. Well, like everything, yin and yang, lightness, darkness, up and down, left and right, there's no good or bad. It's all of it, pleasure and pain. It's like when I talk about relationships with people, we do relationship coaching. We, at a high level, you want to say, hey, look, it starts with attraction, opposites attract. That's the easy part. Then 2 people that are opposite are living under the same roof and see the world and do things completely differently.
Yes.
That's the hard part. Okay. So attraction's the easy part. Compatibility is the hard part, but as long as you have commitment and communication, it's all doable. It's all workable. So my story is no different.
I appreciate you sharing that personal stuff with me. When you first started your career, coincidentally, because Riderflex is a recruiting firm, you were in the in the talent acquisition space for a little bit. But how did that transition into what you've been doing all these years now with the coaching and the public speaking and things? How did that happen? Walk us through the transition.
Well, one thing that comes to mind right away, the transition, what I heard, the first part of the question is, what happened in recruiting, in my experience as a recruiter or a headhunter, right? Or you said talent acquisition, right? Like our company softball team is called the Headhunters, right? So,
all right, nice.
All right. And what happened there that transferred to what I'm doing now, right? Or just the transition from one to the other, right? Is a slightly different question, right?
However you want to play it.
Yeah, well, I'll play them both, right? To be thorough. First of all, one of the things that comes to mind that transfers is there were some recruiters, right? And you probably know, right? That it's just a sales job to them. Hey, make the offer, take the job. Make the offer, take the job. Come on, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, make the offer already. What are you waiting for? Make the offer.
Yes,
Make the offer.
yes, yep, yep. Most
No,
of them
dude. Like, no, dude. Right. So I'm coming into being a headhunter with a master's degree in communication. I'm supposed to know about, like, what I'm getting at is it's got to be a fit. Yeah, I want to make money. Sure. So I just need to get as many deals in my pipeline as possible so that when the ones that aren't a fit and don't work out don't rock my boat. Right.
That's how most recruiters look at the business.
You got it, right? So and not only that, they make the mistake, right? Where they're like, hey, the offer's going out, they're going to accept any minute. And then they go to lunch early, they take the 90-minute lunch, they go celebrate before the check is cashed or before the 30-day or the 60-day or the 90-day guarantee period. And then the wife kills the deal because she doesn't want to commute. And the moving truck shows up and the wife says, no, I don't want to do it. And
why are you bringing up all my nightmares? Why are you bringing up all my nightmares?
Well, now
Jeff?
this recruiter that was celebrating before. Anyway, my point, what I'm getting at is what transfers as a coach and what makes me different and unique and is that you ask anybody that's worked with me ever, I will take the time to really get to know you. I am systematic, almost scientific in my approach. I'm disciplined in my listening. I know what to ask to get the right things to listen to. Okay. I know what I want to know. And one of the things I can compliment about you're doing very similar approach. Like, hey, I can get into a career already, but let's take our time. Like
know who you are.
Tell me about mom and dad. What was growing up like? Did you have siblings? If so, where were you in the birth order? Tell me about career progression. I want to hear you talk about those things so I can feel the language choices that attach to the thoughts, the belief systems. And I want to soak up spongy as much of that as possible so that now if you're a candidate and you're looking for a job, I don't say, hey, my client's going to give me money if you take their job. I mean, like, what are you looking for? Finish this sentence for me. I'm not leaving my current job unless. Give me all the answers to that. What are the must-haves? What are the deal breakers? What are the ideals versus must? I won't. Don't even introduce me to the position description if it doesn't have. So I would hold the candidate accountable. Like, don't use me to go find out what your value is on the open market and then stay put. Don't use me to wave a counter offer in front of your boss's face because you don't respect your boss, and now you'll show them. Because now, as soon as you do that, they're looking for your replacement, buddy. Like let's make sure that you really have an intention to leave your current organization for really clearly understood reasons that I can then match to an opportunity, and that if we check all the boxes, you'll go.
And same for the clients, by the way. Let's make damn sure you're actually going to hire somebody and that you're ready to make a decision.
Yeah. Well, that's not only that, but that what you're looking for. And it's not a wish list. It's not a Keystone Cop. Like, hey, I need to talk to the hiring manager. I know I'll respect HR and I'll involve HR in the process. We won't go around HR, which I knew a lot of headhunters that would, right? And then some situations you can. At the highest levels, HR will report to execs. And, if you're an executive and you walk a resume down to HR will probably say, thank you.
You've been out of the recruiting business for 20 years. You sound like you're still in it. You sound like you're still fresh from it.
Hey, man, this is one of the reasons I want to know a lot more about Riderflex afterwards so we can see what we can do together. But yeah, well, I've coached recruiters. I've coached headhunters. One of my clients, one of my greatest success stories, something I feel super proud about. Admiral James McNeil is a retired Rear Admiral, U.S. Navy Reserves. He's currently coaching football at the Naval Academy, an adjunct professor at the Naval Academy. He had a search firm called International Search Partners, if you don't mind me saying, right? But when his wife finished her schooling, he wanted to go reconnect with her on the East Coast. What am I going to do? And he wanted his employee to take over the business. And his employee was who I was originally coaching to be a better recruiter. Turned him into one of the best recruiters. He wanted his employee to take over the business. He comes to me. He's like, Jeff, you've coached Tom into such a great dude, but he wants to go work for his father-in-law now that he just got married. I know it's a mistake. I know it's a mistake. I know it's a mistake. I'm like, hey, dude, you got to let him make his own mistakes. And you can't be all, anyway, I found him a different buyer, another recruiter that I knew in the financial, found him a buyer, negotiated the deal. He was retained on as a consultant. He's still involved in the organization. It was such a huge success story, right? But I love it. I love the game. I love the game because you're playing connect the dots and you're helping an organization and you're helping an individual, but maybe they're in family, and it's fun. Like there's all these moving parts, but it's a fun game to play. It's an easy game to play compared to other stuff I've done in my life. Like sometimes I think like, why don't I just go back and be a recruiter? That was
you could I mean,
that was easy compared to what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's the safety net for you. I mean, you could go back to it at any time. I mean, just listening to you talk, you could go do it anytime you wanted to.
Yeah. So what transfers, right? Taking the time to really get to know, don't put square pegs in round holes. Don't do your job with commission breath. Be a professional. Understand what other people need out of this situation. Serve that in the way as the way to get what you want. Don't rest on laurels. Build your pie, all the stuff, right? These are the things that transfer into an entrepreneurial venture where I still do all my own sales, right?
Yeah.
And then as far as the transition is concerned, 9/11 happened. I was recruiting in telecom. Telecom dried up. I transitioned over to med device.
Okay.
And I started to get some traction there in medical device, right? I had all new clients. I had to start from scratch, right? But I got married and we committed to a home, and 9/11 happens, right? But like, I thought, all right, let me try to get a salary. Let me be a married guy and go get a salary and start to stabilize. And, so I got an internal recruiting position at a civil engineering firm, and that was dead end. There was no accountability, no growth, no excitement. That led to another director opportunity at a staffing agency with a particular niche. That didn't work out so cool. That led to JP Morgan Chase internal corporate, and that didn't work out. That didn't work out for me either. I was there for 90 days. The baby was being born. There was a lot of stress. I was too honest in that corporate environment. I was made a bunch of mistakes. Like I was, if I can go back to change anything, I wouldn't, right? But sometimes it's hard to remember or hard to reflect on, how nervous or
do you think
I was at the time. It's hard to explain. Yeah.
Was the entrepreneurial bug driving you away from those bigger companies, or
that's part of it? Restlessness. Do you know what I mean? A fear of limiting myself to one thing.
I can see that.
Wondering how meaningful this work is.
Yeah.
Am I really making a difference? Can I sit behind this desk? Can I play these people's rules?
But then, how do you wake up one day and go, okay, I'm just going to turn this into coaching?
Well, there's got to be some rock bottom, right? There's got to be some sort of, rock bottom involved. That's, the beautiful thing about the bottom of the swimming pool is you got something to push off of and get up to the top much quicker than if you're wading around in the middle. And it was the worst economy since the Depression. I was struggling with these different recruiting jobs, and you're restless. The JP Morgan Chase was the last one. And once I got out of there, I was Mr. Mom with my son when he was 9 months old. Because the way things were working, we were living in one part of town and we moved to a different part of town, but the daycare was still near my wife's work, but we didn't live there. And it was just a mess. It was just early parenting.
But your wife was making okay money at the time. You weren't starving.
We weren't starving, but things were tough. I was two properties were in danger of being lost to the real estate thing that was happening. And then I lost my job, but she was stable.
Okay.
But I just remember things were tough. It was.
You got a 9 month old home, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do now? What am I doing?
Yeah, well, it was interesting. Just as soon as I just started to take care of my son at home, that saved me an hour and a half of travel time and a bunch of stress every day. So right there, now it's like, now what do I want to do? So I got a real estate license. And I formed a C Corp, get a clue. And then I went to work with a buddy of mine putting on a real estate costume, as I like to call it. He had a brokerage. And then while I was sitting there in the real estate office, then I found personal professional growth. Then I went to a real estate event, and a title rep said, I handed out 2 cards. Like I handed out the card called Get a Clue with the clip art of the guy holding a light bulb. It said, coaching, need some ideas? Get a clue. I had no idea what I was doing, Steve. I had no idea. right? It's a coaching or it's a consulting, public speaking, or something like that. And then I had it on my real estate card. So I'd go to real estate events and I'd hand out the two cards, the Get a Clue and the real estate card.
Why
And
was
so
the real estate LLC name Get a Clue?
no,
How did
no. I'm sorry, I'm going too fast.
yeah.
Get a Clue was the C corp that I formed because I had this idea that I'll market myself as I'll be a consultant.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
But I had no idea what it took to be a consultant or how I'd consult or how I would get. So like I had these parallel things, right? I'll form a C corp called Get a Clue. So now I can get tax advantages and write off expenses and market myself as a do all of that. And then I get my real estate license. And I thought, all right, what's going to
now I'm with you. And by the way, for the listeners, it's Get a Clue with a K, KLU. So get a Clue, KLU.net. Get a Clue. I'm guessing Get a Clue, CLUE.com was taken.
Yeah, well, my last name is Klubeck, KLUBECK. So Get a Clue. Yeah, and Get a Clue, KLU.com was taken. They were selling like ski wear or something like that.
So you're handing out this business card and you're like, hey, I'm a coach. I'm a consultant. I'm a consultant. And they're like, what are you consulting? And what are you saying? You're like, I don't know.
A little more vulnerability is so funny. And by the way, shout out to a guy that, if you don't mind me giving a shameless plug, to a guy named Brian Trachel, who has forgotten more about personal professional growth than I've ever learned. He introduced me to Brian Tracy, and we've done so much together. He's a LinkedIn profile specialist now, but at the time he was doing title rep, right? He was a manager doing really well in title representation, right? A sales guy, and just had teams on and on. So I meet him at the event and I hand him the two cards, the real estate card and the Get a Clue. And he looks at it and he goes, oh, you're a coach too? And I'm like, I postured, right? I said, coach.
Yes, I am.
No, I said, coach, read the card. It says consultant. And by the way, I'd made $0.00 as a consultant at that point in my life, right? Sorry to make you laugh there. If you make me laugh, I might cough too. So I postured, right? Like anybody's faking it till they make it, right? I'm like, coach, I'm a consultant. Like I'm academic. I'm a professor. Because I was still an adjunct professor at this time. So I got to say, well, I'm an adjunct professor of communication.
I see.
I was still teaching classes, 1 or 2 or 3 classes. So I still could say I'm an adjunct professor of communication.
Okay, there you go.
But then it's almost like, well, what do you do in practice in real estate then, dude? Right. So I said, but I'm like, wait, what do you mean coach? What's a coach? He's like, well, like goal setting and motivation. And I'm like, tell me more. And I started to get really interested in I didn't even know that there was a thing, that there was people were coaching for money and people hired coaches. I didn't even know.
Wow.
So it was that conversation changed my life, because then I went through 3 boot camp coaches trainings. And I thought, wow, if I can grow a coaching practice sooner than I can grow a real estate practice, then I'm going to roll with that. Right. And so I was doing both for a time. And coaching just took off. I mean, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Back to, the mentoring and the bug and the communication and the empathy and the listening and the communication skills. I can be a great realtor, right? But
are you still doing real estate on the side?
I'm building a portfolio. I've got
all right.
I'm not licensed. I used to be licensed. As a matter of fact, I had a broker's license at some point. One of my clients, I was holding him accountable to getting his broker's license, which he needed to do higher level deals. And he was putting it off, delaying the test. And finally I made him a bet. I said, if I get my broker's license before you do, you owe me 10 grand. And so we both got our license, but he saved himself the 10 grand. So
tell us about your coaching business now. Give the listeners a nice overview. Is it for leadership teams? Is it for individuals? Is it for both? And do you target certain sizes of companies? What's your focus? All of it. You give us the scoop.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, first of all, coaching, I have a hard time, and this is a differentiation, right? I have a hard time calling my coaching business a coaching business. Coaching is either a practice, I've got a thriving practice, right? Or it's one thing on my menu, right? Or coaching is one of the way I may solve problems. So my business is to solve soft skill related problems, communication related problems, right? Life or business, right? So that creates a problem for me, because you hear the riches are in the niches, right? And communication is my niche. If most problems are communication problems. Now, so if somebody walks into my restaurant and I give them the menu, coaching is where we talk, but then they go do the work. Consulting, however, is where I'm doing work for the company that they can't do on their own. So if it's a staffing project or a performance management project or appearing on somebody's behalf or doing assessments or compiling reports, or if I have a deliverable, I call it consulting. If I'm doing work for a
Okay.
company,
All right.
if they're doing the work, but talking with me is getting them clear, motivated, and accountable to the work that they're going to do, that's coaching, right? Is get people engaged, get people motivated, hold them accountable, right? That's coaching. So that could be executive one-on-one, group, etc. Okay, yeah, right. But then training is everybody's working, but the learners want to be able to do something afterwards that they weren't able to do before.
Okay.
So a lot of times in corporations, training falls flat because people are checking a box rather than reinforcing training with accountability and ongoing coaching to make sure the training gets implemented afterwards, right? And then info products could be an e-course, a book, or hiring me for keynote or speaker for hire. So I could do keynotes, facilitations, etc. So that's what's on the menu: coaching, consulting, training, and info products, including keynotes or speaker for hire. That's the
And
menu.
how's your business divided up right now? What's the vast majority, or do you have a chunk of that? Like, hey, primarily I'm hired to do consulting, or primarily the coaching, or primarily the speaking. Where's the
No.
bulk of your business?
No, it's not. It's not. There isn't a book. It's like I'd say it's a balanced portfolio, right? So
Okay,
in other words,
nice. Well, that's great.
like, yeah, yeah, it's really cool because I'll give you an example. Like my projects are diverse. Over the summer, I had a soft skill project for the Institute for Canadian Citizenship, where it was training, but I was going to create 3 units for them that had 4 soft skill trainings per unit that were like custom, like kind of cookie cut soft skill corporate trainings,
All
right?
right.
And then I did a custom training for each of those units as well. So I shot video, created a workbook, did the PowerPoint. So there was a custom-led, instructor-led overview, and then 4 additional self-paced study references for 3 of those units, right?
Is the bulk of your business like that, where people are logging on to get it, or are you traveling to the sites and seeing people in person?
No, I wouldn't say bulk of it's diverse. It's both and, or, I
Okay.
could be on site with organizations for 1, 2,
Okay.
3 days. I could do
Okay.
virtual. You know what I mean? There's not the bulk. Like one of my clients, he's an entrepreneur. He has got, 12, 13 businesses. So he'll retain me for 50 sessions at a time. He also has a license to my leadership content that he offers through his charity. Right. So
Well,
it's like really diverse. It's like,
nice. Well, that's great. Good for you,
yeah, yeah,
man.
yeah. I
Yeah,
don't have all the eggs. It's a
that's
blessing and a
great.
curse though. Like sometimes I think, man, if I just focused on one thing and just did one
Well,
thing,
yeah, but
but I like the diversity a lot, right?
are
And
people calling you primarily because, hey, my team's not getting along, come help all of our soft skills and make us play nice together in the sandbox? Is that the majority of the calls?
again, I get calls like that, but I wouldn't say it's the majority,
Okay.
right? Do you follow? I can't pinpoint anything. If I had to say, the majority is coaching sessions. Coaching sessions are a big part. Sessions. If somebody buys a license, it
But
comes
what
with a
is it?
session.
But the
Yeah,
coaching session is because I'm hiring you to make me perform better, or I'm hiring you as on a coaching session to make my team get along better.
both, both. Both. If it's
Okay.
an individual contributor that wants to have a team one day, it's helped me with my performance. If it's somebody with a team, sometimes it's the person that is a kick-ass individual contributor and just got promoted to have a team. And now he's got to hold his bowling partners from last week accountable. What do you do now? Like, great, you produce the most widgets. You produce the most widgets, so they want to hire you within so they
A
can
lot
save money
different.
on
Yeah.
they can save money on cost per hire because they're hiring them from within. But now you were at the water cooler talking with all of your peers last week, and now they report to you. How's that going to go? And did they
Not
give you
all,
any
not
training on
all,
that?
not all,
Have they right? So sometimes a
yeah.
company is helping me with a year-long leadership program to work
Oh,
with anybody with direct reports. Sometimes it's an entrepreneur. Sometimes like one of my clients is a financial advisor that he runs a district, and he's got 3 different offices full of financial advisors that report to him. So I work with him on high-level stuff, right? So it's diverse. My clientele is really super diverse. I've done nonprofit.
the reason
Yeah.
I keep trying to push you into a box of some kind, the reason I'm trying to kind of target you is because I've had a shit ton of coaches on the podcast.
Yeah.
We've had over 400 guests on the podcast. I bet you 50 of those are coaches. And they all kind of have their special sauce or whatever. They have
Some
their
of it's smoke
focus.
and yeah, no offense to any of your guests, but a lot of it could be smoke and mirror and sizzle and stuff like that, right?
Yes, I totally agree. And so that's why kept thinking to myself, okay, well, I've had a lot of coaches on the show. If I have 50 coaches in my network, I called Jeff primarily because
Yeah, well, that I could finish that sentence. Like, there's a lot of ways I could finish it, but non-threatening accountability, right? Non-threatening accountability, right? Or you could see it over my shoulder, the integrity game. If integrity is an issue in the organization, call me, because I've got the integrity game. I know how to retrofit and increase, improve, establish structural integrity for a person, a team, or an organization. So but the problem is, we get conceptual first. Most people think most people only use the word integrity when they're accusing somebody else of not having it. You understand? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so accountability is always going to feel like an attack when we're not ready to be 100% responsible for our own behavior. Right? Okay. So a lot of times when you think about coaching, performance management, helping people get results. Well, at the end of the day, what result? Like, a lot of times people think, let me put it this way. A lot of times people, if I asked, and I've done this 1,000 times, I ask a room full of entrepreneurs, how many of you have integrity? And then 100% of the room raises their hand.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, isn't it? Like, everybody, like 100% of the world is lying to themselves in public.
That's funny. That's a good one.
Right. Well, and then I say, hey, don't shoot repeat after me. I solemnly swear not to shoot the messenger. So I have a keynote, 45 minutes, called the integrity game. And I'm going to ask you again, 45 minutes from now, how many of you feel like you have integrity? And so I have funny, fast-paced, humor-laced, kind of in-your-face ways to be non-threatening about how much bullshit you're telling. Right. And what's the truth? What's real? What do you really want? Who are you really? What's your purpose? What are your competitive advantages? What's your potential? Now, you're building a mansion on quicksand if you don't have answers to those questions. A lot of times people think integrity, say, hang on, I don't want to offend anybody. What is it? What's integrity? And half the room will say, do what you say you're going to do. Okay. The other half will say, do the right thing regardless of who's watching. Okay.
That mantra of non-threatening accountability. Does that come from something in your past where you had a threatening, overbearing bosses where you're like, okay, this environment sucks? Is that where that comes from?
Maybe. I mean, haven't we all had that? Right? Like, I think everybody's had that. I don't know if it specifically comes from that. It comes from my coach's training and then my communication skills that I bring to the table. Okay. Right. And then, like, basically the red pen. Oh my God, the red pen. It evokes images, right? You think you're going to be judged and criticized for what you do wrong. Does it make sense? Like, it's interesting when people are on a proactive learning track, they love to learn, make mistakes, etc. Like, so judgment versus support. It's a special person that wills themselves into being counted. Most people want to get as much as they can with as little given as possible. Most people are the last to take blame or responsibility for something that's gone wrong.
That's true.
Most people, right? So what's happening a lot in organizations is passing the hot potato or the blame game or the shit rolling downhill.
All the time.
Okay. Or the cover your ass game, the hot potato game, whatever, smoke and mirror, right? And so you want to know why? Go back to staffing. A lot of people are hiring people into their organizations without taking time to find out what the people want and knowing that my organization can give you that. So when I play the integrity game, by the way, I'm not talking about you didn't do what you said you were going to do, or you didn't do the right thing. You did something different when nobody was watching. That people want to judge everybody else, but we're always guilty of what we accuse others of. So, I want more integrity in my life. I want to be a better human being. I want my behaviors to come together with my potential. I want my purpose. I want to know what my purpose is every given day. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know, like, a building that has structural integrity will withstand the pressure tests. A building without structural integrity will be crippled and crumbled by the pressure tests. So I don't care if it's getting sick or if it's a pandemic. I don't care if it's a kid forgetting their lunch to school and you need to stop what you're doing right then and get the kid to the lunch, or if it's a tsunami or a tidal wave or a hurricane. I don't care if it's a change in the weather or if it's a storming of the Capitol or whatever unexpected, unwanted occurrences come up. You're never going to stop the weeds from growing. Brian Tracy taught me that. Weeds grow on their own. They need no help from us. But if you don't have structural integrity, those weeds could blow you down.
The
right?
integrity game. I want to
Yeah.
talk about that.
Go ahead.
The book, The Integrity Game.
Yes, sir.
Launched when? Launched
April opening day, baseball season opening day, April 22.
That's why you have the cover of the baseball stadium on the book. Plus, you're a huge
Yeah.
baseball fan.
Well, I'm a huge baseball fan, and I'll tell you, back to the personal stuff, it's part memoir. As much as it is a business parable that gets my 10-point model into the marketplace, there's characters in there that are infused with qualities of my children. And
I see.
And I wrote the book while I was mourning the loss of my parents. So it's like, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, the integrity game lives for my family. You know, incredible dedication on the front to my wife, and then all three of my kids they have qualities of them sprinkled into the characters in the book. And so this is like, for me, on a very, very, very personal level. Yeah. And but why waste a good pandemic, right? Why waste a good time inside your own head mourning the loss of your parents? So I decided to create a book called The Integrity Game and bring all these things that I've learned over the years together into a 10-point model. So the book it's a parable, it's a story. And if I had to make up a story, why not start off at a baseball stadium? And the opening scene is there's a season ticket holder who's there to see his son, who's a rookie who just made the big league squad. And it's the bottom of the 9th inning. And the dad is cheering for his son to get on base to score the tying run to send it into extra innings. But there's this uninspired hot dog vendor to the side saying, "Oh, extra innings, great. I had plans with my friends." And so the dad, first of all, to protect the rookie needs our support. And second of all, isn't it out of integrity to work for the home team and cheer against the home team? Or you're complaining about, "Oh, this sucks. I'm not making any money. My boss does." Basically, this character is like the complainer, complaining about every, not trying to sell anybody a hot dog, just complaining about how much money they're not making. Yep. Right. So we introduced this complainer, this person that's out of integrity. It doesn't get it, not taking responsibility for their life, slinging dogs. So the season ticket holder says, "Hey man, that's my son. I'll be here all year. Integrity has a lot to do with everything. Baseball has a lot to do with everything. It's a great way to learn about life. I'll be here all year watching my son. If you want to learn integrity, I'll teach you." Wow. So the rest of the book takes them on each of the next chapters are corresponding to the 10 points in the model.
I see. Okay. Very good. Very good.
By the end of the book, the dude's not slinging hot dogs anymore.
Is it on audio too, or no?
No, you're not the first person to ask me that. That's something I should commit to doing in soon. I'm hesitant to commit to it now because of other projects that I have on, but there will be at some point there will be an audio version of it, because too many people have asked for that, and it's got to be done.
It's nice, when you're on the treadmill, whatever, you can just be like, boom, I'm just going to listen to Jeff's book this morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. Well, now I'm more motivated now. Maybe I'll commit to it in 2024, get the audio version up there. That would be a neat project. It's actually, it would be easy to do. I have the vendor. It's just making a phone call and booking the time. So I've written that one down, Steve.
How many, and talk to the listeners, by the way, I'm looking at Jeffrey's author page on Amazon.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Klubeck on Amazon and probably a bunch of other places, but I just happen to be looking at that specific author page. Tell us about the other books you've launched real quick. Anything you want to mention as an author, because you're a full-blown author at this point, my friend.
Well, yeah, it's so funny. We talked about this earlier. I even have a hard time accepting that as criticism. I mean, as a compliment, but thank you. But like I put the qualifier in it. Well, I'm a self-published author, right?
Hey,
but
still.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a different game to sell your idea to a publisher in exchange for that marketing. Yeah, I haven't played that game yet. But self-publishing, I've learned that game. And the other 4 books are all tips books, or it's what I call my soft skills series. So there was a point in which I had a goal. I want to become an author. And, there's a colleague in my world that said, "It's easy. Just come up with 5 categories and write 10 tips for each category. There you go. You got a book." I'm like, "Well, let me add 2 more. So I have a year's worth, 52. And then without forethought or any more thought than the joviality of it, I'm like, "Oh, get a clue in 52. How great."
Cool.
Right. So I just did the first one. The 5 categories were communication, networking, marketing, sales, and accountability. And I just wrote 10 tips in each. I had 2 extra tips in marketing. And
Okay.
then in 2020, I went online every Sunday night on Zoom, and I would stream into a Facebook group called Get a Clue, and I would read 1 tip from the book every single week. And I'm like, hey, that was really cool. And in 2020, it became important when everybody went online and we needed online community building, right? So I streamed all of those sessions, and then I did it again in 2021, but streamed them to YouTube that time. So I had 2 different channels populated with the tips in the book. But then a client of mine wanted to co-author a book with me. So we did the entrepreneur edition of Get a Clue in 52, brand new tips. The categories there were personal branding, business acumen, business ownership, leadership and influence, and work-life balance. And so we did a deal in 2022 where we would go onto my Zoom at 8 o'clock at night and stream it into my social. And then at 8:30, we would get onto his Zoom and stream it into his social. So it was a co-authored book. We did 2 different ISBN numbers on it, right? Where he was the lead author on his version with his design and his branding, and I was the lead author on mine, but we promoted together for a year. And then last year I did Get a Clue in 52 for coaches. So I took a lot of content out of my coaching and leadership training, put it in book form, and the 5 categories were self-promotion, motivation, self-promotion, engagement, how do you sell coaching? And then motivation, accountability, and then practice building, 12 tips around how do you build a coaching practice. And then this year we just launched it 2 days ago, or what's today, the 3rd, 3 days ago. It just launched, and we're going to start reading a tip out of this book every week. I've got a co-author on this project as well. And it's Get a Clue in 52 for speakers. So
that's great. That's good. I love the fact that you're reading those off like that. How about a podcast? Just no time?
It's not no time. Like my strategy on podcasts is it looks like a lot of work. I have a lot of admiration for what goes into doing a podcast, producing a podcast, getting guests for podcasts, the production, the upload. For me, my strategy has been let me be a guest on podcasts.
Okay.
And I do have I do have some programs that I've run where I'm interviewing people. But I did the 90-day challenge for the integrity game where I interviewed subject matter experts in each of the 10 points on the model. And then last year, just a couple months ago, for 12, 13 weeks straight, I did what I call all-star sessions, where I interviewed subject matter experts that can help me go deeper on each of the 10 points on the integrity game model. So I've got now I could put that together in a summit and do that evergreen and get a summit going. But I've never committed yet to hosting my own podcast. That may be in my future.
Did you have a ghostwriter for your books or no?
Yeah. For Get a Clue in 50, well, she's an editor formatter, right? And she can ghostwrite as well. And so I don't know if it's fair to call her a ghostwriter. Like for the integrity game, what we did was we would meet and we would Zoom. I would communicate to her all of the content that I want to go in the book. We'd brainstorm story and characters and plot line together. And then she would take that and she would create a framework, send it to me. I would edit, send it back to her, and then we'd finalize.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
So it was a real collaborative effort, but she can ghostwrite. I have actually ghostwritten a book for a client of mine. You need other eyeballs on your stuff. It's hard to write your own stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, the Get a Clue in 52, the tips books, a lot of stream of consciousness there. A lot of times when you're reading those, you can read it, but you can hear my voice if you get used to the way I talk. It's very stream of consciousness the way I write. And I use, caps and italices and ellipses and exclamations and parentheses and very stream of consciousness writing where I break it up. It's not redundant. You can almost hear my voice come through. But the integrity game is a little bit more polished and little more measured. And if those people that really know me, they can tell when the editor edited and when she could tell, people that really know me could tell what was edited and unedited, if that makes sense.
Very good. I appreciate you sharing the information about the books. How do people find you, book you, get a hold of you? What's the best website, etc.? What do you want to tell folks as far as finding Jeffrey for hire, for the consulting, for the coaching, for the speaking?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if people go to www.TIG so it stands for the Integrity Game Arena, tigarena.com.
Okay.
They can learn about what we're doing, get a message to me, of course. They can also sign up for 2 complimentary consultations that we offer, 2.
Oh.
So anybody that hasn't had them yet, it gets 90 minutes first session. And if they like it, then they get a second session for now. So we give 2.5 hours of free coaching away for anybody that hasn't had it already. If you've already
How
had
about
the
that?
2, now you
Nice.
need to enroll if you want more. But so they can sign up for 2 complimentary coaching sessions. I see all of that information so far. I'm not big enough where I don't see that yet. Maybe 10 years from now, I won't see those things. And right.
Okay.
But everything that comes in right now, my eyeballs are on it. So people can sign up for 2 complimentary coaching sessions. But if you just Google Jeff Klubeck, find me on LinkedIn, please. I respond to all my own direct messaging on LinkedIn and Facebook. I have an Instagram presence, but I'm not on it regularly. But Facebook and LinkedIn are easy to find me. And then you mentioned before, getaclue.net, tigarena.com.
Okay.
And anybody can email me directly, jeff@getaclue.net.
And it's Jeffrey Klubeck on LinkedIn, not Jeffrey Klubeck. If you look him up, you'll see him.
Jeffrey Klubeck, Klubeck.
Yeah. And by the way, I just noticed we're not first level connections on LinkedIn yet. I don't know how I missed that, but I'm sending you a connection request right now.
That's a thing of the past. I can tell you that.
That's like, what am I can't believe we're not already. Let me get you on there. Besides that, I always like to have friends in San Diego because that way when I come out there, I have places to stay. Just tell your wife.
Absolutely. We got plenty of room, and we'll give you really good insights on some cool stuff to check out. It's so funny too, because like sometimes because we live here, we take it for granted and we're not as knowledgeable as some other tourists that come in and find some real good nooks and crannies, right? That's a little embarrassing, but we have some good things to show people when you come to town. San Diego loves you. I'll say it again.
Yeah, man. Well, your energy is great. You're infectious. I can see where you'd be a great speaker for company events and things like that. Super positive, energetic.
Yeah.
And you're authentic, real. You don't hold back any punches, but you're not condescending or too direct to where you're going to piss people off. You're just right. Just, that's my read.
Oh, that's wonderful because I've pissed people off in my life. I've also failed to seize opportunities in my life as well. And I'd rather regret something I did than something I didn't do. Apologies usually an easier pill to swallow than regret.
Yes, I think it's we can wrap it up with this. I think this is your field of expertise, not mine, but it takes a special kind of person and talent to coach and deliver information that's going to help somebody without offending and pissing them off.
Yeah, that's what I meant by non-threatening accountability. So there's tons to learn about how do we get permission to lead?
Yeah.
How do I get your permission to be this role in your life?
Right.
Once I've got permission, it's a hot knife through warm butter. That's where most people are screwing up in leadership, is they haven't done the work to earn the respect and the permission first. But once I've got permission and respect, now I can tell you got broccoli in your teeth without you getting mad at me.
That's great stuff right there. That is great stuff right there, Jeffrey. We'll wrap it up on that. Thank you so much, sir, for being on the Riderflex podcast. I'm going to hit stop on the recording, but hang tight, okay?
Yes, sir.